person I'm going to introduce not only has been a Corvette enthusiast for a number of decades, he's also retired from the FBI. And in 2003, when 9/11 hit this country, he was right there in the thick of things. His name is Mr. Wes Wong. Where is Wes at? Mr. Wes Wong.
Thank you, Rick. So I just want to, before I begin my talk, I want to give a little shout out to the instructors that you're going to be dealing with tomorrow. So my wife has gone through the course, and my wife is not a car person. She doesn't like car racing. I asked her one time if she needed a new car, what would she want? And without hesitation, she said, a Toyota Corolla. And I said there will never be a Toyota Corolla in our driveway. And she went through the course, and like I said, I'm not a car person. She would not drive my Corvette before she went through the course. When she finished, I said, how was it? She goes, I loved it. I said, would you do it again? And she said, absolutely. And that's all credit to Rick's people, so thank you, Rick. I'll give another little shout out. So at one point in my FBI career, I was in charge of our driving school. We have our own driving school, and I'm arranging for the FBI instructors to come out and work with Rick's instructors, because I think there's things that the FBI instructors can learn from Rick's. And Rick doesn't know this yet, but I'm working on having Rick's drivers come to Quantico and see what we do. We're more of a basic driving. What we're learning is how to get out of an ambush. It's not high speed so much. It's more when you're in the danger zone somewhere in the world, how do you save your life and your passenger. So if I can pull it off, Rick, you will be coming to visit us. So when I was getting ready to come out here, my wife was teasing me. She goes, what shirt are you going to wear? And I said, I don't know, because some of you may know or not know, I'm part of Pratt & Miller, the Corvette race team. And thank you. And the only time that I'll wear one of these shirts is at an event. I don't wear this in the mall. I don't wear it, So I said, I'm going to take both. So yesterday I wore Pratt & Miller, and so today I thought I'd wear this. So. For the right price, I will get you the right size. So, just a little bit of my background, 30 years in the FBI. Never thought about a law enforcement career. When I was growing up, I like to say, if you were of Asian descent in my age group, you only had two choices in life. You could be an engineer or you could be a doctor. I didn't like the sight of blood, so I decided I was going to be an electrical engineer, and that's what I went to college for. The FBI came knocking. Took them 3 years to recruit me. I kept putting it off. I didn't want to be Dirty Harry. I didn't want to carry a weapon and all that good stuff. But eventually they wore me down, and I will tell you, for me, it was a wonderful life. I enjoyed every day of the Bureau. I loved putting people in jail. I carried an MP5 and a Remington 870 in my trunk every day. My wife told me, she said, when you retire, Wes, you're going to miss all the perks you have. And I thought, what perks do I have? I will tell you, the first time I had to go through airport security, I understood what she meant. Take my shoes off, take my computer out. What are you talking about? I was just used to showing my badge, walk around security. I could carry anything on the plane. The other thing I missed, the first time I had a park in New York City and paid $42, that killed me. I was used to putting the police plaque up on there. I could park anywhere, put the police plaque up. Free parking. It's great. So I tell my wife all the time, she's right and I was wrong. So, I will want to do a shout out to Pratt & Miller. So, some of you may be familiar with the team, and Ron was one of our most famous drivers. How long did you drive for Corvette?
Long enough. 12 years.
So, but one of the things they wanted me to say is the race team, Pratt & Miller, works with the factory. And so, because we feel the better the street car, the better the race car. So there is technology transfer going back and forth between our shop in New Hudson, Michigan, and the Corvette plant in Bowling Green. So some of the things that you experience in your C6, your C7, your C8 was some of the things that we worked on. So obviously GM did the major. I'm not trying to diminish anything that the GM engineers, but we do work closely with them. I'll tell you a quick story. Before the C8 race car came out, we were getting all kinds of questions. People would come to the track and they'd go, "Hey Wes, what's the new race car like?" And we were sworn to secrecy. And I go, "What new race car?" And they go, "You know, the new C8. I go, "I don't know." I said, "There's the race car. We only race with GM makes." One day we had the new car up in the hauler. We were going to test it after the race at Road Atlanta. And so this guy's talking to me and I'm thinking, if you only knew that new race car is about 10 feet away in the hauler. So, all right, so as it's already been stated, I was at Ground Zero on 9/11. So, was anybody in New York? Beautiful day, correct? Absolutely. If you were in New York in the morning of 9/11, you would have been greeted by absolutely gorgeous day. 70 degrees, bright blue sky, not a cloud up there. Just a great day to be alive. And when I heard that a small plane, the original report was a small plane is blown into the North Tower, I thought, what a poor soul. I said, there's no fog, there's no clouds. The guy must have had a mechanical failure, flew into the World Trade Center. Poor guys, you know, bad luck. I just happened to be very close to the World Trade Center that morning, so I called the office. I said, "Hey, I'm just north of the tower." I said, "This is not going to be an FBI case, it's going to be a National Transportation Safety Board, but let me go down. If they need anything, the city needs anything from the FBI, I'll be able to call it out." So I go down, get there. Obviously, the South Tower hasn't been hit. I'll be honest, I did not think it was a terrorist attack at this time. I just thought that some poor guy couldn't steer his plane, flew into the World Trade Center. As I exit the vehicle, a fireman comes up and says, "Who are you with?" They'd already started to put up a perimeter security. Told him who I was with. He says, "Go into the lobby of the North Tower. They're setting up a command center." At that day, I just had a pair of khakis and a polo shirt. I didn't have a suit on. And as I was walking away, you know, I can admit this now because the Bureau can't do anything to me. We were required to carry our weapon 24/7. And I got to a point in my career, sometimes I didn't have it with me. And this morning I had my little 5-shot. It was in my briefcase. And so as I walked away from the vehicle, I said, "You know, Wes, you're an FBI agent. There's all these tough firemen and cops. You should at least be armed." So I went back, I retrieved my little 5-shot, I stuck it in my waistband, And I'm so glad I did that because my vehicle got destroyed that morning, and it was one less thing I had to put on my property sheet that I lost. So I'm headed over, and this fireman said something to me that I couldn't understand. He said, "Watch out for fallen bodies." And I'm walking, I can see people coming down the stairwells, I see people going up the stairwells, and I'm thinking, what is he talking about? And I'll be honest, I was a little hesitant to talk about this, but I think this crowd is okay. And Mike told me a little story that he had two cousins that worked in the towers. And both of them told Mike that the most trauma for them was the jumper. So he said, would you mention it? So as I'm crossing West Street, I hear the fireman go, "Run, here comes one." And I don't know why, but I froze on the sidewalk. I look up, and I see a fella coming out of the sky. Navy blue pants, white shirt, tie, and he's just spread eagle. And I just froze as I stared up and watched this. And thankfully, all the windows in the lobby of the North Tower were knocked out. And so I was able just to duck in, and this poor soul hits on the sidewalk behind. And I will tell you, it was a god-awful sound. For a lot of us there that morning, we were asked, what was the most trauma for that day? I think most of the people asking us, they said, think it was the towers. But we're going to say, oh, it was the towers collapsing. For me, and I think most of us, it was the jumpers. It was obvious that there were some that the heat was getting too much, and they decided that it was better to go than to stay. There were others that they had made up their mind. Some would say say a little prayer, do a sign of the cross, and they would go. For me, the hardest ones were the couples. You saw couples get up in the window together, they would hold hands, they would give each other one last look, and they would try to hold on to each other as they jumped. So for us, I think that were there, that was the most trauma for us. I get in the lobby of the North Tower, and everybody and their brother is in there, as you can expect. NYPD, New York Fire Department, Mayor's Office of Emergency Management, and I'm not an expert in fire and rescue. I think this is going to be an NTSB investigation. I go up to one of the fire chiefs. I said, "Chief, I'm with the FBI. This is your baby. But if there's anything you need from us, I'll be over by the wall. Don't hesitate to ask." And I just try to blend in to the woodwork, right? So firemen are going up the stairwells, people are coming down, and all of a sudden, we hear a loud boom. All work stops. We all look at each other. All of a sudden, a young fireman comes running in. South Tower's been hit. South Tower's been hit. We don't understand what he's saying. Chief Fife for the fire department says, "Son, you mean the antenna from the one tower has fallen and struck the other tower." And this young fireman is so excited, he just keeps screaming, "The South Tower's been hit, the South Tower's been hit." Finally, Chief Pfeiffer grabs him by his bunker coat, shakes him, and says, "Son, get a hold of yourself. You mean the antenna has struck the South Tower?" And he goes, finally this young fireman gets enough composure. He goes, "No, sir, another plane has flown into the South Tower." Well, obviously my role changes from a guy that wants to be kind of like where Ron is and out of action to what's going on. So I call the New York office, I call headquarters. Headquarters confirms what we already know. And in the West, we have more bad news. There are more planes that are unaccounted for. At this point, I'm reeling. I realize now we're under attack. And I wasn't thinking about the Pentagon. I wasn't thinking about the fields of Pennsylvania, I wasn't thinking about the Capitol. I just thought we were going to take more hits in New York. So I relayed this information to the command structure. We now deploy resources to the South Tower, still continuing the North Tower. All of a sudden, there's this rumbling sound. And again, all work stops. And now you have to figure out what is that sound. I thought it was the North Tower, the tower we were in, starting to come down. It was actually the South Tower imploding. But I didn't know it, and I don't know how many of us that were in the command center that morning really understood at that moment what was going on. So picture this is the lobby of the North Tower. Behind you is elevator banks. To your left, this way is West Street. Kind of 10 o'clock to me is connecting lobby back to the South Tower. Behind me is the reception desk. And off to my left, to your right, is an alcove. Well, what's the obvious thing to do? You're in a building with 110 stories of concrete and steel. You think it's starting to come down. You should run to daylight, run out to West Street, get as far away from the building as you can, and hope you survive. I don't know why I didn't do that. I think subconsciously I thought, you know, with your luck, Wes, that's not going to work. If you remember, the World Trade Center was built steel skeleton with concrete slabs. The heat was making some of those concrete slabs come off the side of the building, and they had struck some first responders. So I think subconsciously I said, you know, Wes, your luck, you'll go out on the sidewalk, concrete slab will come off, and that'll be the end. So before I tell you what I did that allows me to stand here today, I want to give you a little bit of my background. I said I was trained as an electrical engineer. I'm very good at math and physics because I'm Asian. But this is the dumbest decision a Chinese engineer could make. I thought that alcove would act like a reinforced bunker, and when the North Tower comes down, it'll protect me, it'll keep all that rubble off of me. So I take off running. I will tell you, and I have no problem admitting this, I did not think I would make it to that alcove. My heart was beating so hard. I thought, Wes, doesn't matter what happens to the building. Your heart's going to explode and you're just going to fall down. I mean, that's how scared I was. So I'm running for my life. People have asked me, where did everybody go? I don't know. People just started scattering. So that morning, I had my badge stuck in my shirt. And as I'm running, the badge and the credentials go flying. Now, what's the obvious thing to do? You're running for your life, you're scared to death. Forget about that badge, forget about those credentials, because you can get headquarters to issue you a new set. Unfortunately, I'm going to show my age now. I came through under the J. Edgar Hoover era. And under Mr. Hoover, his philosophy was if you lost any Bureau-issued property, you would be sent to Butte, Montana for disciplinary action. Now, I like Wyoming, I like Montana. I worked 2 summers at Yellowstone, but my parents never talked about a good Chinatown in Butte. So I made it a promise to myself at Quantico I was never going to lose any Bureau-issued property. So what do? I stop, I run back, I pick up that badge and credentials, and I continue to run towards the alcove. If Mr. Hoover was alive today, he would be very proud of me. We get into the alcove, and it's just like this. Lights are on, air conditioning is working, and like idiots, the group I'm with maybe 7 or 8 cops and firemen, we stopped. We should have just kept running to get out of the building. So we stopped thinking, okay, whatever happened We're okay. Well, that only lasted for a brief moment, and all of a sudden, the alcove fills up with smoke and debris. It gets so dark, I stick my arm out because I don't want to walk into a wall or a pillar, and my arm just disappears. You can't see anything. I'm still thinking there's been a partial collapse in the North Tower. It was the South Tower, and rubble came through that connecting lobby into the North Tower. All of a sudden, it got eerily quiet. Still dark, still can't see, and all of a sudden, Chief Hayden's radio goes nuts. I'm trapped, I'm pinned, we need help. There's all these cries for help. Chief Hayden realizes that we can't see each other. So he yells out in the darkness, "Hey, everybody come to me." I take a step, and I was so close to a fireman, I literally took one step, and I bumped into this fireman. I didn't see him. He didn't know me, I didn't know him, but he grabs me in the darkness. He says, "Don't let go of my coat. You walk away, we may never find you." I'm thinking he's the expert in fire and rescue. I grab him, and I remember to this day, this is exactly what I said. "You're my new best buddy, and I'm not letting go." So we all huddle up around Chief Hayden. He tells two of his firemen, "Do a perimeter search, find a way out." Two firemen come back, said, "Chief, we're trapped. There's no way out." There was a way out, but I understand how they missed it in all the chaos and darkness. Chief Hayden gets on his radio. He says, "This is Chief Hayden. We're in the lobby of the North Tower. We need assistance." Fire command comes back and says, "Chief, we need heavy equipment to get you out." My group still doesn't know that the South Tower has collapsed. That's how chaotic this morning was. So I'm usually a pretty optimistic person, but I will tell you, when I heard that they needed heavy equipment to rescue us, I started to lose faith. And I started to go down. I started to think, when I woke up a couple of hours ago on this beautiful early fall day, that this isn't how my life was going to end. And I started to go down. My knees got weak. And it's funny what you think about in times of stress. So as I'm starting to lose it, I thought, Wes, you don't just represent yourself, you represent the FBI. If you go down into the fetal position and start whimpering, all these tough firemen and cops are going to go, "What's happening to the FBI?" And I really thought that. So I said, "Okay, just stay upright." So I remember pulling on the fireman's coat, locking my knees, and thinking, what will be, will be. Nobody was talking. I think we were all, thinking about life. All of a sudden, a voice out of the darkness, "Is anybody down there?" We yell back in unison, "Yes." Chief Hayden says, this guy says, "I know you can't see me. I'll keep yelling. Come to me." Our spirits soar. Chief Hayden says, "Line up. Everybody, single file. We're out of here." I'm still holding on to my new best buddy. We're going towards the voice, and I trip over what I think is debris. I don't want the guys behind me to trip, so I look down, and what do I see? An outline of a fireman's bunker coat. I go, "Hey," I said, "one of your guys is down." Two other firemen disappear in the darkness, and one says, "He's still breathing." The other one says, "It's the chaplain." I didn't realize that at the time it was Father Michael Judge, most beloved chaplain of the New York Fire Department. We pick up Father Judge, I pick up his right leg, we carry Father Judge. I didn't know how we got out until I saw some footage, some raw footage that was shot at Ground Zero that day. I think we went up a set of escalators, we got to the mezzanine level. Get up to the mezzanine level, there's brick wall straight ahead, windows to the side, double doors to the left. We don't break stride with Father Judge. We go out those double doors, what happens? Concrete slab comes off the side of the building. Thankfully, it didn't hit any of us, but it landed so close, I remember turning my head to the right and getting pelted by broken concrete. We back up with Father Judge. If you see the famous photo of him being carried in the orange chair, for some reason that orange plastic chair was sitting by its lonesome. We put Father Judge in there. We start working on Father Judge, and my mind started, I think, playing tricks. So picture Father Judge is facing this way, brick wall is behind him. I'm helping the firefighters with Father Judge. I tell Chief Hayden, I said, Chief, I think that the building is swaying. We need to make a move. And he agrees, and he tells two of his firemen to knock out the windows on the side. We go out. Thankfully, there's an overhang that protects us from falling debris. We put Father Judge in the ambulance. And we're now going to go back in because North Tower is still standing. We still don't know that the South Tower is gone because that view is blocked by the towers. All of a sudden, Fire Command says, everybody evacuate. If you're out, don't go in. We don't understand that command because we can see people coming down the stairwells. We can see people that need help. We see firemen still going up the stairwells. Chief Hayden says, hey, we're a paramilitary outfit. I can't let you go back in. And we just don't understand that command. But if that's the rule, it's the rule. So as we're standing on the northeast corner of Vesey Street, we hear a second rumbling sound. And I don't know why, but I looked up and what did I see? The top of the North Tower starting to implode. I take off running, I make an unlock, I make a right, and I dive into the first doorway. Smoke and debris goes by me. Doesn't hurt me, makes me a little dustier. But when the dust settled, it was weird. It was like night had descended on Manhattan. When I was running north that one block, it was daylight. When I picked myself up out of the doorway, it was like night had descended. And the final 5 blocks that I walked back to the office, it was like I was at nighttime. So after 9/11, the office got a lot of requests for me to do interviews and photographs, and I turned them down. I didn't feel like I was a hero. And so every time the press office came to me, they said, do you want to do, Frontline or ABC News or I said, no. I said, I have no desire to be recognized. But we lost 2 agents that day, John O'Neill and Lenny Haddock. And Esquire was writing a story on John O'Neill. John O'Neill was one of my best friends in the Bureau, and out of respect to John, I agreed to be interviewed as long as the interview was about John and not me. So we're doing the interview, and the author says, I know I'm not supposed to ask you about your experience. He goes, but I really would like to know, what were you thinking when you thought you... And I said, I was thinking about my 2 children. I have a son and daughter, And I said, I was thinking I was never going to see them again. And he said, well, who else did you think about? And I said, nobody else, just them. That I wasn't going to be able to watch their life unfold. So he comes back again and he goes, well, who else did you think about? Well, now I'm getting ticked right out there in my soul. And this guy just keeps hammering me with the same question. So I decided to be my typical smart-aleck self. So I said, well, I wasn't thinking about the new director. He had only been on the job 2 weeks. He didn't know me. I didn't know him. I said, I just wanted to tell my kids one more time that I loved them. Finally, this author says, well, did you think about your wife? And I said, well, unfortunately, I'm divorced. I said, it was not something I wanted. It wasn't very pleasant. So, no, I was not thinking about my ex-wife. And he goes, I just wanted to protect you because if your wife reads this story, you go on and on about how you love the kids, but you don't mention her, you'd be in big trouble. And I thanked him. And for all the women out there, I don't hate all women, just one. Just one. So I picked myself up. Like all three-letter agencies, we hit the ground running. We were working 7 days a week, long hours, and I was okay until right before Thanksgiving. So my normal routine was get off my shift, pick up some carry-out, get back. I was very lucky. I had a small apartment in Manhattan at the time, and so I didn't have to go to my house in Jersey every night. So this one night, I pick up, carry out, Chinese, because I want to support my brothers in times of need. I put the food on the table, I go take my shower, come out, I start to eat dinner, and my hand just starts shaking. And I'm thinking, wow, you know, this must be coming down with something, all these long hours, resistance is like. But then it dawned on me, I wasn't coming down with something. It was the emotions of 9/11 bubbling up. So I'm not here to tell anybody how to handle trauma. I'm not here to tell anybody how to handle stress. I will just tell you how I did. So I went to see my priest. In the New York office of the FBI, we have leaders of every major faith. I went to see my priest, and so I said, I think I had survivor's guilt. I found out from the fire department 2/3 of the men and women that were with me that morning perished that day. Only 1/3 of us survived. So I said to the priest, I said, Father, here's the $64 question. Why am I here and so many aren't? And he said, Wes, you can't answer that question. Drive yourself nuts. All we can say is he's left you on this earth to carry out another mission. And I just said to him, I said, whatever that is, I hope it's not as hard as 9/11, because that was a tough day. I will tell you, I don't watch any documentaries, I don't read any books, I don't need somebody to tell me what happened that day. I feel I was there. On 9/11, I do not work. I take that day of reflection. My wife was very kind to me. She basically leaves me alone that day. And I think about my friends that I lost and the poor souls that were gone from that day. And so that's how I've come to terms with 9/11. I would like to finish this with a story of all places that happened in the Mobile One gas station outside of the Holland Tunnel. So I hate to admit this since it's not a jail product, but I was in my Crown Vic. I pull into the Mobile One gas station to gas up my company car, and the gas attendant in a heavy accent says, where are you from? I understand this question. I go, well, I'm from here, but my parents are from China. I said, where are you from? He says, I'm from Turkey. I said, how do you like it here? He says, I love it. He says, it's a great country. He proceeds to tell me his story. He says, I was in the Turkish army. I got out of the army and I realized my kids could not advance in society any higher than I was. So I came to America to give my kids a better chance in life. I'm thinking, here's a guy probably making minimum wage, working 6 or 7 days a week, and he thinks he's the luckiest guy in the world. He goes, you know, there are people born here that don't appreciate how great this country is. He says, but when you come from a country like mine, he goes, every day you wake up, you thank your lucky stars that you're in America. And I told him, I agree. He said, my dad took the proverbial slow boat from China. Started out as a dishwasher, became a very successful businessman. So if he had not made that journey, if he had not come to America, I certainly wouldn't have met Mike Furman.
Tell them the story about Malcolm.
So, I just want to say, in closing, there's all kinds of crap going on right now, right? Politics, Secret Service, you name it, a lot's going on. But I still believe, just like that gas station attendant, this is the greatest country in the world.
Yes.
And so I'm proud of the 30 years I did. My son is an Army officer. I'm proud of his service. He's done combat tours in Iraq and Afghanistan. I hope his combat tours are over. It's funny, I never realized how my son and daughter worried about me. So I didn't find out until they grew up. They said, you know, Dad, we used to worry sometimes about you coming home. I was a former SWAT guy, I was a former sniper, and I think they probably picked up on the days that we were going to do an operation because I wouldn't wear a suit that day. I think that was kind of their way of knowing something. Dad was not doing a normal day job. And so they said we would sit up in our room and say, do you think Dad's coming home tonight? And I felt bad because I never realized that they thought about that. But when our son went into combat, I mean, I'm in the military, I was so calm, Special Operations Command advisor, so I understand military protocol. And I remember saying to my wife, I said, God forbid a chaplain and an Army officer is coming up our driveway because I don't know how to handle it. And my wife said, you can't think like that. You just can't. You know, it's his life, and we just have to pray that everything is good. So far it has been. So again, I want to thank all of you for coming on behalf of Mike, on behalf of Ron, and the great instructors over there. And so, have a great 2 days. Enjoy yourself. And thank you all for coming.
How great was that, guys? Wes is a Corvette fan, that's how I know him. Back in the 80s, he used to come through my dealership in Paramus, New Jersey, kick the tires, never bought a Corvette, but he was always there and I was there. And we didn't realize that until, 20 years ago or so. But thank you for all coming. I know you gotta get some rest. Tip the bartenders big time, they've been great. They're here for you, and it was very nice of them to team up and work hard. Enjoy yourselves. 6:45 a.m. tomorrow is breakfast right here, and then 8 o'clock in the classroom. If you don't know where you're going in the morning,